Wish I had a beef Wellington.
Okay, to start, we will need to make a duck cell. Or at least my version of one. I've personally noticed that things like onions and garlic tend to make me bloat, so I avoid them for the most part. To make this, we will start with 8 ounces of mushrooms, a quarter teaspoon of fresh thyme leaves, and a quarter teaspoon of coarse kosher salt. Blend this in a food processor or blender until you have a smooth texture. Cook this mixture over medium-high heat until all of the moisture has been evaporated. Set aside and allow to cool completely. Next, we will need to take our tenderloin and prepare it for all the ridiculousness it's about to be encased in. Here, I have one of those pre-seasoned tenderloins in the packaging, but feel free to use fresh if you have it available to you. I had to cut mine down to size to fit the plastic wrap that I have. Dry it off very well so that we get a slight sear on the outside. Sear every side, including the ends. For this so-called puff pastry, I went for a simple mixture of pork rinds and eggs. The ratio I worked out is 1 egg per half cup of pork rind dust. This recipe is 1½ cup pork rind crumbs and 3 whole eggs. The consistency you're looking for is kind of like peanut butter cookie dough. Do not be like me. Use parchment paper instead of the foil that you see here. If you use foil, please oil it very well. For this next step, you can spend as much time or as little time as you want trying to get this to fit on your pan. The goal here is just to get something big enough that will fit over your final product. The biggest thing you should make sure of is that there aren't any holes in it. Put this into a 350° Fahrenheit oven for 18 minutes or until it is firm to the touch. Let cool until room temperature. Now for the fun part. We will take 3 ounces of thinly sliced prosciutto and lay it flat to almost reach the ends of our plastic wrap. Next, add our cooled duxelle and spread almost to the edges of the prosciutto. You basically want your prosciutto to overlap after wrapping. Finally, add your pork tenderloin. It took me a few minutes to understand how I was going to wrap this thing. It's the first time I'm making a Wellington that isn't individually sized, and the geometry was confusing me. Wrap over one side to the other and carefully pull back the plastic. Tuck your edges and roll the rest of the way like this. It should feel similar to wrapping a burrito. Now, take the time to tightly wrap this whole thing in plastic. Refrigerate this for at least 20 minutes and overnight if you plan on making this the next day. Alright, now for final assembly. Flip your pork pastry to where the rough side is facing down and the smooth side is facing up. Take your tenderloin / prosciutto burrito and lay it on the pan that you plan on cooking on. Take the pork pastry and wrap it tightly around this. The pastry is a lot stronger than you think, so don't be scared to press it in. Once you have this the way you like it, place it into a 350° Fahrenheit oven for 40 to 50 minutes, or until an internal temperature of 155° Fahrenheit has been achieved. Obviously, my thermometer was on some other planet because my internal temperature was a medium well, which I'm fine with. Slice and serve immediately. Now, would I recommend you try this? I mean, of course I would. I'd hope you'd be interested in making any of my recipes, but is it practical? Not really. But is a beef Wellington practical? Anyways, if you try this recipe, I'd love to see some pictures. You can DM me or tag me in your pictures on Instagram at Carnivore Chef. See y'all next time.